You are still watching Arise 360. Welcome back to the show. I am Catchy Octavia. So let's be honest, entertainment will be absolutely nothing without the movies. And at Arise 360, we always like to make sure that you know everything that we know. So here is our daily digest of film and television. And filling us in on all the film and TV news, I am now joined by Arise entertainment correspondent Afua Adam, live from our studios in London. Hi Afua, you look absolutely stunning as always. Thanks for joining us on the show. Okay, so firstly, let's get the show started. Now, let's talk about a trailer that has really been generating so much buzz and a lot of excitement. I mean, it's time again for that, Frozen fever, isn't it?
Do you know what? It absolutely is a Frozen fever. And of course, we are talking about Frozen 2. So the trailer dropped yesterday evening, and it has got something like 7 million hits on YouTube already. And it just looks like it's going to be such an amazing adventure. I don't know about you, but I was a huge fan of Frozen. I thought it was such a great story. It was a great girl power story as well. Of course, it spawned that huge hit, Let It Go. And Frozen 2 is set for release on the 22nd of November this year, and the trailer just looks amazing. It's only 2 minutes, but it tells us a lot of things. There's like a lot to see in there already, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited that it's out. I've been waiting 6 years for this, and now it's here.
Yes, you know what? I'm just as excited because I absolutely loved Frozen. So how about this? Let's take a look at that trailer that has got everyone talking. Such a beautiful trailer. Now let's get back to Afua. So Afua, I'm really curious. From this trailer, obviously there are lots of clues, but then it also pretty much leaves a person pretty confused. So what do you think we can expect from Frozen 2?
Oh, I think there's a lot to see there, right? So first of all, our favourite characters are back. So Anna, Elsa, Olaf and Kristoff are back, so that's fine. None of the main characters are gone, so we have to be happy about that. There's 2 new characters. Now, there's been a lot of chatter, and a lot of people have asked the creators if Elsa was going to get a girlfriend. Now, she has become a huge gay icon, and a lot of people were like, you know what, let's give Elsa a girlfriend in the next film. And there's been a lot of chatter about it on red carpets and everything else. There's 2 new female characters who we did see there briefly in the trailer, and there's chat that one of them could be Elsa's new love interest. So there's that to look at. There's a new dark tone to the film. It's all very moody already. It looks very autumnal. You had that shot at the end there where they're looking out across Arundel, and it does look quite broody and quite stormy.
Yeah.
People are saying that climate change could be a reason why things are looking pretty bad in Arundel. Of course, you had the opening 40-second sequence there when you had Elsa riding those huge waves and trying to use her ice powers to try and freeze them. That could be climate change as well. I'm telling you, it's Frozen. There's a lot to see there. Of course, we talked about the 2 new female characters. There's the 2 new looks for Elsa and Anna as well.
Absolutely.
They look very different. Anna's got like a... Oh, I'm loving the looks. Anna's got this half up, half down do. She's looking cute. Elsa's got a new outfit. There was a jumpsuit there. I was like, yes, I'm loving that girl. So there's the 2 new looks as well. That just means much more merchandise for people like me to buy for our children, which is excellent. Thank you very much, Disney, for that. And of course, exactly, and you've got those huge floating diamonds as well. So you had that really quite stunning shot where you had Anna in the window and it pulled out and it pulled out again, where you had those huge diamonds. They're supposed to be very significant as well. There's a lot to see in this film. It's coming out November 22nd. I don't think I can wait. I'm going to go home tonight and watch Frozen on repeat until the next one's out.
All right, now let's get on to the next situation. Now, this is another trailer, but this time it is for an entirely different movie. It has, you know, a different vibe. We're looking at something dark and something spooky. And it also features the Oscar winner, Octavia Spencer. So what is going on there?
Yeah, so this is something a bit different for Octavia Spencer. As you said there, she won an Oscar for The Help back in 2012, I think. So she's gone from drama to dark. So this movie is called Ma, and basically the premise is there's a bunch of kids in this town in the middle of America somewhere, and she's quite a lonely person in this town in Ohio. And she meets this bunch of kids when they ask her to buy liquor for them outside a liquor store, and she basically eventually does it for them, but then offers them a place to party. She says, you guys want to party like rock stars. And basically, she offers them use of her basement. And she gives them a few rules. One of you has to stay sober, don't curse, never go upstairs, and you must call me Ma. All starts off very innocently, but she seems to become obsessed with this group of children. She has all their phone numbers. She's always calling them and texting them. She turns into a bit of an obsessed stalker, and the trailer ends with Sue-Ann, that's the Ma character, sitting on a sofa surrounded by the kids, all passed out, and she's painted their faces white. Now, Octavia Spencer is truly very scary in this film, but it looks excellent. It's something a bit different from her as well. She's crossing over into that horror genre. It just looks brilliant.
Amazing. Like, really, I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie now because, you know, Octavia Spencer, this is something we haven't seen. And I always knew she had that horror flick somewhere hitting in her. But anyways, let's talk about something else right about now. So it is all about Will Smith. He did amazing in that trailer for Aladdin. But now this time he has been really talking about how and why he turned down Keanu and ended up being rather Keanu Reeves' role in that amazing trilogy, The Matrix. So what's all of that about?
Yeah, so he said on his YouTube channel, basically, he was just talking about the time that he was pitched the film by the filmmakers that made it. And basically he said, yes, I turned down The Matrix. And I think everyone was a bit like, what? Why would you do that? But it was around the time that he made Independence Day. And he said he didn't want to be typecast as a guy that does science fiction movies. So he said that he took a pitch from the directors and he didn't really understand it. It was from the Wachowski brothers, who are legendary now. You know, they made the Matrix trilogy and a whole bunch of other films in that genre. They really are geniuses. But he said there was a fine line in a pitch meeting between genius and what he experienced. So it's basically, I think, the way they were describing the fight scenes and the way that they described the use of the cameras. He basically was just like, this doesn't work. It doesn't sound realistic. So then he jokes and said he went on to make Wild Wild West. We all know that wasn't a good decision. Would you pick Matrix or would you pick Wild Wild West? And he acknowledges he's not very proud of that movie himself, but he said that Keanu Reeves was perfect for that role, which obviously he is. Like, you can't imagine Neo in The Matrix being anybody else at this point. And then he said that Morpheus probably wouldn't have been black, he wouldn't have been Lawrence Fishburne, and they were looking at Val Kilmer for that part.
Yeah.
So imagine Val Kilmer as Morpheus and Will Smith as Neo. I think I prefer Lawrence Fishburne
Well, you know, the
as
funny
Morpheus
thing is,
and
if we
Keanu
had
Reeves
been,
as Neo.
Yeah, if we had been thrown with that combination, if we had actually got to Will Smith, I think it's all about the mind, because we would have just assumed that, okay, this is the best that The Matrix can be, and I guess we would have just accepted it. But I really have to ask, you know, we've seen people's careers, you know, take a very specific, you know, path. We saw Penn Badgley. He's always the hopeless romantic, you know, looking for love. We've seen people just be stereotyped to a particular role. Do you feel maybe Will Smith had the possibility of being in that same category? I mean, we saw him in I, Robot. We saw him in Men in Black. And then he was going to now do The Matrix. So is there a possibility that he was just trying to break out of that shell? Like, look, I don't want people to start thinking this is just what I do. I want to do everything else. Is that possibly what it's all about?
Yeah, I think you're right there, and I think you have hit the nail on the head. And I think he did himself when he said he didn't want to be typecast as a sci-fi guy. And of course he hasn't, because he went on to do Hitch and, you know, 7 Pounds, you know, like all these different films, and he's played so many different parts. And there probably was a fear that if he did do The Matrix, then he would have been stuck doing those roles for a long time. And I think it's good actually that he probably turned this down, or else he maybe wouldn't have played Ali. You know, you probably couldn't have imagined him after being locked into the Matrix trilogy going on to do those kind of roles. So it was probably a smart move for his career. Let's be honest, just because he didn't do The Matrix doesn't mean that he hasn't done exceedingly well in his career, and he hasn't gone on to do other things, to do different films. Yes, things like Wild Wild West weren't amazing, but, you know, things like Ali and all the other films that he's done, you know, I Am Legend, all those films were great. So I think it probably was a good decision on his part. It's allowed him to play a whole host of roles, and we still love him nonetheless.
Exactly. I don't think it's possible to not love Will Smith. But anyways, finally, things are looking really good for the Netflix series Jack Ryan, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So John Krasinski is back for the second season of the Netflix series, which isn't actually on Netflix yet. However, he has been confirmed for season 3. So in it, he plays a very unlikely guy who turns out being an international spy called Jack Ryan. He flies all over the world, abandons his desk job for all these death-defying adventures in the field. So the third season is expected to follow him again as he attempts to track terrorists around the globe. There has been quite a Russian focus in this first 2 seasons so far. In season 2, so it's going to be a departure from that, and it's going to be more of a political thriller in South America. It's supposed to be for season 2. So really good for Amazon, really good for John Krasinski again in this role. I must admit, when he first took up this and Jack Ryan was first out, I was not convinced. After seeing him in The Office, and I just think, oh, he's quite gentle, and he doesn't strike me as an international spy. But when you do watch it and you do get into it, you're like, okay, I get this premise. I get why they picked him for the role, because Jack Ryan himself, initially at his desk job, he's quite unlikely himself. So it kind of works well. It marries up well. So good for them for getting a 3rd season. Amazing.
Well, you see, Afua, thank you so much for always, you know, giving us the latest when it comes to the world of movies and television. Well, for you, that is all from Afua in London. And you see, it is almost the end of the show. But you see, we have a very big surprise for you. Yes, imagine this, a world where the Beatles never existed. Quite boring, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what director Danny Boyle does in his latest film starring Himesh Patel, Lily James, and even Ed Sheeran. So here is your first look at yesterday. Enjoy.
This was my last gig. If it hasn't happened by now, it's like a miracle.
Miracles happen.
happened?
Electricity flicked off all over the world.
Cheese!
Yesterday,
Ellie bought you a present.
all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
When did you write that?
I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it. The Beatles.
Who?
John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles.
No. Stop it.
Yesterday. It's one of the greatest songs ever written.
Well, it's not Coldplay. It's not Fix You.
Do you genuinely not know who the Beatles are?
Genuinely.
Then I'm in a really, really, really complicated situation.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me.
Sorry, I'm just listening to Jack's new song.
What's this one called?
Leave it be.
Let it be.
Well, rock on, Jack.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you something.
Hi, we should talk. See, we pay and you write songs, and then you make a ton of money. And then we take most of it.
The one, the only, Jack Mallet! We would like you to write something right now.
Something in the way she moves.
No one's ever written this many great songs. How do you do it?
Attracts me like no other lover.
Sometimes it feels like someone else has written all the songs.
Hey, Jude.
I've been waiting half my life for you to wake up and love me. But I'm a school teacher, and you are the world's greatest singer-songwriter.
I'm not.
Except for you are.
It's going to be the greatest album of all time.
I've got two men who claim that the songs are theirs. Let's see how this plays out, shall we?
There's something you should know.
Please make some noise for Mr. Jack Mallet!
Let me just give you this advice. Song title. Hey, Dude.
Hey, dude, are you sure?
Hey, dude.
It's so much better.
Do it, do it, do it.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from us here in Lagos. Now, don't forget this, you can catch us every day, 4 p.m. on the Arise News channel. So until next time, I am Kachi Ofia, and this has been Arise 360. Goodbye.